It's 100% entertainment, 100% electricity, 100%.
Pipebomb Radio with your host, Felix Olmedo.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
And Austin James.
That's the bottom line. From stone to stone.
Welcome, everybody, to Pipebomb Radio today. Again, at an earlier time this week. I am joined, of course, by my other two hosts, Austin and Nate. How you guys doing?
What is going on, brother?
You know, actually, let me tell you, this is a big story that happened. I was actually about to have to call in with Skype, just like Mike, Janae, and Taz had to do this past Sunday on Bound for Glory. Go figure. I was about to do the same exact thing, but I didn't, thank God. And, you know, we're live here tonight across the airwaves on Pipebomb Radio, about to interview the great Lanny Poffo. I thought it was Lanny Savage. No, the great.
He was known as Leaping Lanny. He was known as the Genius, but he'll just tell you to call him Lanny.
Yes, the son.
Excuse my voice. I am actually under the weather at the moment, but I made sure I was still here, like a trooper. But I believe Mr. Poffo is calling in. I'll go ahead and bring him on now. Hey, Lanny, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Oh, very well. I demand that you call me the Genius.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will call you the Genius.
And kneel before me.
I'm already kneeling.
You can call me Lanny. I'm okay with that.
Well, you know,
it's very hard to live up to. That Genius thing is very hard to live up to.
I understand. Well, you know what? We wanted to bring you back because we wanted to learn a little bit more about you, the individual. I know we brought you in last year when we did a little tribute to Randy, and we wanted to bring you back and for fans to get a little bit more information about you. So I wanted to start it off real quick here and ask, as a child in the Poffo household, at what age were you shown? Did you start watching professional wrestling? Was your dad still wrestling at the time?
Oh yeah, my brother was born in 1952. I was born in 1954. In 2 months, I will be 60 years of age, and that's quite an accomplishment for a wrestler. Because that's like dog years or something. So anyway, my dad started in 49, I think. Right after the war was over in 45, and then he went to DePaul University. He met my mom, and then they had Randy in 1952. They had me in 54, and then they decided, after me, the hell with this. So, yeah, I probably.
And you actually.
Yes.
Oh, yes, sir. Your father, the late great Angelo Poffo. He's actually the one that trained you and Randy, right at the beginning. But besides him, were there any influences who actually had the opportunity to train you in the early parts of your career?
Well, my father was very smart when he trained us. He said, don't just learn from me, learn from everybody. In fact, when you stop learning, you should quit, because you can always get better. And so we learned from him, but we learned from everybody.
Now, Lanny, did you always know that you wanted to be a wrestler, or was there a part when you were growing up where you were just like, I don't want to follow in my father or my brother's footsteps. I just want to be Lanny the accountant or Lanny the stockbroker. Did you always want to get into pro wrestling?
Well, I actually traded stocks for 3 years on my own, but not for people,
really?
For myself. Yes. I found that that was a lot of fun, but it was, when you were winning. So, and I was a bad loser sometimes. So, and unfortunately, when you're trading stocks, you get to do both. So, anyway, I would say that the only thing else I wanted to do was play baseball. And I only had trouble with the hit, run, throw, field aspect. But other than that, I was really good. And I knew I wasn't as good as Randy, and he wasn't, and he played 4 years in the minor leagues. So by not being as good as Randy and knowing it, I saved myself a lot of frustration by not getting into baseball if I wasn't going all the way.
Okay. And in the wrestling business, you actually you got to be a good guy and a bad guy. Which one did you enjoy doing the most?
Well, it depends. When I was a good guy, I would have just been satisfied with that if I could have worked with Terry Funk every night. Unfortunately, you're not the, Terry Funk has to work with other people. And, but I mean, that was so easy. He had so much going for him, and we just got along so well. But then you have to wrestle other people, and then it's not as much fun. So, then when I was a heel, that would have been great if I would have got to work with Hulk Hogan every night. But that only happened a couple of times. Actually, it happened for a 4-month stretch. And I would have liked it if it would have happened for 4 years and 4 months. But it was worth it to drink from the silver chalice of success, even if it was for one brief shining moment.
Now, in the beginning parts of your career, you actually ventured out into the NWA and went on to win so many different titles. Among them, one tag team championship with your father, Angelo Poffo. Could you describe the night, that it happened? Could you describe the aura and how you felt when that accomplishment was made?
You mean with my father?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I hate to break your heart here, but we never really won those belts. They just gave them to us, I guess. I guess whoever had them at the time didn't want to lose them. This is when we were working for the Sheik in Ohio and Michigan. So we were world champions of Ohio and Michigan, and also Ontario. So that's like 3 places we were world champions. That's like sounds a little strange, doesn't it? Then we went to St. Louis. We brought the belts, but they said no, nobody wears their belts in St. Louis. We have our own belts here. So that'll give you how much respect that belt got, So anyway, but I was still. We had some. We wrestled against Bobo Brazil and Hank James. We had matches with the Currys, Bull and Freddie, and Tex McKenzie and different tag teams. Tiger Jeet Singh. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. We froze our butts, sometimes. And I love the Sheik. He employed us for 2.5 years off and on.
Well, you mentioned Ontario, and maybe some of our listeners only remember you from your time as the Genius, but not only did you spend a lot of time in your early career in Canada, but you're also born there. What type of fondness does Canada hold in the heart of Lanny Poffo?
Well, I was born in Canada, and I was married in Canada, so I try to avoid Canada. I try to avoid Canada now because the only thing left to do is die there. So I have to figure out if I stay out of it, I won't do the 3 things you can do. But actually, that's not true. I love Canada, and I especially like Calgary, where I was born, and I like BC, Vancouver, and I like the Atlantic provinces. Now, when you get to places like Manitoba, that's where if your dog runs away, 2 days later you can still see him because it's very flat.
You had sent me some information, Lanny, about your books, both being on the top 50 bestsellers internationally. Your Limericks from the Heart and Lungs, and also the poetry, which is this case, it's Leaping Lanny Wrestling with Rhymes. That actually is the #1 bestseller on Amazon. How does it feel to be a best-selling author?
Yes, I'll tell you what it is. Just like I admitted that I won the belts in the bathroom there. Okay, let me just level with you guys. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, what happened was when you have a small publisher, a small publishing company, it's kind of a mom and pop situation. Like the Limericks from the Heart and Lungs, that's a children's book with poetry and limericks. 335 limericks all about smoking. And we sold out 3 different printings. And Laurie Bouquet calls me up and says, would you like to do another printing or would you like to go on Kindle? And I don't know, let's do Kindle. What am I going to say? I don't know. And then they go on Kindle, and the next thing you know, a company says, hey, you want to take your other book on Kindle? I said, fine. And it turns out, you know how distribution, the big publishing companies have an advantage. But when you're on Kindle, it levels the playing field. So now I'm international bestseller in both books on Amazon.com. And, when I think about all the publishing companies that turned me down, like Random House, and even WWE,
Now, looking at ICW, the history that's been made in the company that your father was the creator of and the founder, was there any interest in ever kind of making a documentary of it? Because I know there's many people, namely Michael Elliott, who actually produced Harley Race's documentary. Jimmy Valiant.
And is working on Ivan's right now, too.
Yes, and working on Ivan Cole's one. Or is there any interest in starting a documentary for yourself, something about the ICW?
No, but I'll tell you what, the DVD is coming up for my brother from WWE on November 18th. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yes, we
didn't
did.
know the actual startup date. At least I didn't. I know the startup date, but I know there's actually a really nice package that's going to be available when it comes out with the glasses and the T-shirt as well.
Okay, yeah, there's an expensive group that you can buy and there's the inexpensive thing that you can buy, right?
Yep.
And I suggest you get one of them, whichever one that is. It doesn't matter to me. But I suggest you do it because when I spoke to Kieran Bent, he's the producer for WWE, and I told him I would help in any way I could. And then just a little while ago, he sent me the rough cut copy. And let me tell you what, it is an honest portrayal of Randy's life. And it had Dusty Rhodes, Hulk Hogan, Jerry Lawler, Jimmy Hart, and there were people trashing Randy. There were people putting Randy over big time. But I got on the phone with 2 guys and thanked them for the things that they said about Randy. That was Bret Hart and Diamond Dallas Page.
Wow.
But I think that the fans are going to love this DVD. I think it's going to be the greatest thing. It's a keepsake. And I know there's a lot of people ask a lot of questions about my brother, and they will all be answered on this DVD.
Okay.
Interesting. I'm really looking forward to that, then. One of the things that I always find interesting when you talk about people that come from families of athletes or families of musicians is I think that a lot of times it's kind of a blessing and a curse thing where maybe some doors are open, maybe some lessons are already learned, but there's also the burden of the name. Did you ever feel anything like that with the Poffo name, Lanny, where, it was great and you loved your brother and you loved your dad, but sometimes it was a lot on your shoulders?
It was only a blessing. Only a blessing, no curse at all. If I were the son of Lee Harvey Oswald, that would be a curse.
Oof.
But I was the son of Angelo Poffo and the brother of the Macho Man. It was only a blessing, and my career would not have gone anywhere if it hadn't been for my father and my brother.
Okay. And in the beginning of your career in WWE, it might have even been before that. I'll have to verify that with you right now. You were reading poetry, but you were also throwing frisbees out into the fans. Is that correct? And if so, who gave you that idea?
Okay, very good question. Thank you very much. Have you ever heard of Al Costello?
I've heard the name, yes.
Okay, I'm talking to 3 people, right? Does anybody know who Al Costello is?
I believe so. I guess, like Felix said, I've heard the name before. I can't really pinpoint exactly who he is.
Okay,
in
the early 1960s, there was a tag team called the Fabulous Kangaroos. They were managed by Wild Red Berry. It was Al Costello and Roy Heffernan, and they were the first Australian tag team champions that came from Australia. And and Al Costello, him and Heffernan, they brought boomerangs into the ring that were actually carved by Aborigines. And what they did, those were very expensive, of course, and dangerous to throw to the audience. So what they did is they took heavy paper and they made it cut into a boomerang shape, and it had pictures of and facts about the Kangaroos. So it was a keepsake about, we claim we were the greatest tag team, and this is Al Costello and Roy Heffernan and Red Berry's picture, and all information about them. And then they would throw the boomerang to the audience, and all the children would go crazy trying to get a boomerang. And two of the children going crazy were Randy Poffo and Lanny Poffo. We were fighting for those boomerangs, and guess what? Randy won every time. And I never got a boomerang. So anyway, so when I was a guest on TNT Tuesday Night Titans, and it was, did you ever remember that?
Yes, actually, yeah. I do. We've seen clips of Tuesday Night Titans.
Okay, Vince McMahon was the host, and I had been in the territory. I had been in New York about 2-3 months, and I had never been invited to TNT. So finally, they invite me, and I said, "Well, I don't want to be boring, otherwise I'll never go back." If you're, how it is. If you're a baby face and you're boring, that's great, Lanny. You'll have to come back sometime, and it never happened. So I wore a suit of armor, and I did a poem. And then when they went to black, when they went to the commercial, Vince McMahon said, "Lanny, that was great. From now on, you do a poem before every match." So then I'm thinking to myself, well, what can I throw at the audience like Al Costello? So I made some scrolls, and I put poetry, and I taped them up, and I threw them, and it didn't get over because I couldn't even get it past the guardrail. So I said, well, I can't use a boomerang because I'm not from Australia. What could I use that's going to really fly? And then it hit me. How about a Frisbee? And I write a poem on the Frisbee. And so I went to the printing shop that does that do all the gimmicks and things, and I put a generic poem on the Frisbee, made 500 of them, and I started throwing them out. And I was waiting for somebody to say, "Stop doing that," but nobody did. And then the boss of the marketing department of WWF at WWE, he said, "Lanny, do you mind if we market these?" I said, "Do I mind?" "Yeah, go ahead." So they started selling them at $3 a piece. And every time I would wrestle, I would go to the venues where they were selling them, and I would sign the Frisbees when they would buy them. And they sold about 600,000 Frisbees until I became the genius.
Huh.
So, I was just trying to prove I was marketable. And in order to prove, I always was, Sam Walton was the big deal at the time. He's the guy that invented Walmart.
Yep.
Yes.
And they asked him, how does a guy from Arkansas become the richest man in the world? And he said two rules: sell for less and be nice to people. So I said, well, I can't change the price. It's a $3 Frisbee, but I know how to be nice to people. So whether they bought a Frisbee or didn't buy a Frisbee, I was nice to everybody, and they sold out every night.
Very cool.
Now, kind of going back for a second here, in high school, did you have the opportunity to wrestle in high school, or was it just any other sports that you had the opportunity to play?
I wrestled in high school. I also played football and baseball. And Randy played football, basketball, and baseball. And, Randy was the consummate athlete. And but I wrestled, and I was very, very good. But I found it really didn't help me in professional wrestling. It was it helped a little, but didn't help a lot. I mean, it's two different animals.
Okay.
I think one of my favorite runs that you had, Lanny, was when you were managing the Beverly Brothers as a Genius. I thought that was fantastic, and it makes me question, A, did you enjoy that time, and B, why don't we really see managers anymore?
Well, the thing is, I was with Mr. Perfect, and then he switched to Bobby Heenan, and they fired me. And then 6 months later, they fired John Tolis, who was the coach. Remember?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
He had the whistle, and so they brought me in. And then Randy gets a hold of me and says, "Hey, you haven't been here in 6 months. It's totally different." I said, "Well, really, what's the difference?" He says, "There's 8 guys that are using people's suitcases for toilets." And I said, "Wow, 8 guys, huh?" So this proves I'm not a genius. I got to Rochester, New York for my first TV, and I hid my cap and gown so well that I couldn't find it for a long time.
Oh, no.
Because I was afraid that the people, I was afraid one of those 8 people would relieve their bowels into my, beautiful cap and gown. And but now that I am a genius, I look back on it and I said, the reason nobody did that to me is because they were afraid of my brother. Ooh, yeah.
Now, going with the genius gimmick, whose idea was it to wear the cap and gown? Was that something of yours, or could it have been that you may have had a different costume for the character?
Randy and I were, talking about it, and, we were discussing what kind of a heel I could be, and then finally Randy presented it to Vince, and my idea was to call me Boy Genius, because that's the kid in the classroom that's so obnoxious. Oh, teacher, oh, Mr. Carter, oh, he's got his hand up all the time. So Vince says we'll call him the Genius Lanny Poffo, and then we'll just shorten it to the Genius. So it'll be a transition, like we're not trying to put one over on anybody. So, So I told Vince, the hell with you, I'm leaving. No, I didn't do that. I just said, okay, fine.
Now, how much do you think that your high-flying style that you did for quite a while, benefited you in the long run? Do you think it helped you or hindered you?
Oh, it helped me because look, I'm not a big guy and I'm not mean-looking, so whatever you have that you can use is a plus. The thing is, Terry Funk told me, being good is one thing, but you got to be peculiar. In other words, the people pay their ticket. They want to, like to the circus, they want to see not just the flying young man and the daring young man and the flying trapeze. They also want to see the fat lady, the two-headed geek. There's a lot of reasons they might come to see the circus. Well, the wrestling is no different. You want to see King Kong Bundy, you want to see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. 2 different wrestlers, but they both have some appeal.
Okay.
Now, kind of piggybacking off of that, because I was just going to say, back in that time, the WWF was definitely a big man's company, with the exception of your brother, yourself, Ricky Steamboat, a few wrestlers like that. And that always stood out to me because, just full disclosure, Lanny, I watched more NWA just being from Virginia, so, I'd watch WWF on occasion, but when I saw guys like yourself and your brother and Ricky Steamboat, that caught my attention, and it separated you from, say, an Andre the Giant or a Hulk Hogan or somebody like that.
Well, I think there's room on the card for both type of wrestlers. You know, I think it's people like to see giants. But let me tell you about Andre the Giant now. You probably think he's a lumbering oaf because you saw matches from the 1980s. But I guarantee you, in the 70s, he was agile. He was quick. He was worth the ticket price. He was a young giant, and he could get. He was amazingly coordinated. But then, of course, in the 80s, you know, his back was killing him, and he was suffering, and he never really, you know, you understand, it's hard when you're a giant.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it was so great that he managed to go to WrestleMania 3 and take that body slam from Hulk Hogan, and it was the slam heard around the world. Of course, Randy and Steamboat stole the show, but that was still a great body slam.
What was Andre like as a person? I don't know how close you guys were, but you know, we all saw the big lumbering giant, as you said, but how was he behind the scenes?
Well, when I met him in the 70s, he was very nice. When I saw him in the 80s, he was miserable because he was in pain all the time. Now, on December 28th of 1985, I had just turned 31, and I get to Buffalo, New York, in the auditorium, and it's a major snowstorm, so all the wrestlers get there early, and Pat Patterson said, "Look at poor Andre. He's here in the dressing room, but he doesn't have a deck of cards." And Andre loved to play cards in the dressing room. So what I did is I went upstairs. I found one of those wrestling fans. I gave her $10. She went out and got a deck of cards, and I went downstairs to see Andre, and I said, "Andre, voila." And he looked at me, and a little tear came in his eyes, and he said, "Merci beaucoup, monsieur," and he gives me the European kiss on both sides of the face. And when he had me by the head, you know, there was nothing I could do about it. You know, it's like he had me. So from that day forward, he called me boss man. And then later on, before WrestleMania 3, there was a Battle Royal on NBC, and they needed a guy to do a carry-out bloody job for him. And I was chosen. And did you remember that fateful night?
I do. I actually watched it on Saturday night's main event.
That's right, and you can see that on WWE Network now.
How much is it, Austin?
I believe it's $9.99. Is that the correct term? I mean, plus taxes, obviously.
Lanny, I actually wanted to ask you, if you had the opportunity, and let's just say WWE called you tomorrow, and they said, "Lanny, we want to bring you back in for one more big match, and we want you to, you know, build a story starting at the Rumble and going to WrestleMania, and we want to put you in a match against an opponent of your choosing." If you had that opportunity to do that, would you be willing to? And if so, who would you want to step in the ring with?
Wow, that's an interesting question, and I may have to take a little time for that. I think that I should wrestle Damien Sandow.
Yes.
Yes. Obviously.
I should accuse him of ripping me off and everything, and it'd be great, wouldn't it?
I think so.
I think just the promos alone would be worth the price of admission.
Well, I'll tell you what, the promos better be good because the match is going to suck.
No.
No, man, I'm every day. I'm going to be 60 years old, man. I can't possibly. I know. I'll tell you though. You know when Ricky Steamboat came back and everybody was saying, "You still got it."
Yep.
Remember that? Well, they're going to yell at me, "You ain't got it." Bam, bam.
No, I don't think they would.
Well, Lanny, have you been watching lately? You ever seen Damien Sandow in action lately? He's definitely far. I mean, I cannot even exclaim how far off he is from his original character. I mean, well, from your character that you created first, but then what he portrayed later on in the years. He's far off between that now.
Well, what's he doing now? I don't even watch TV anymore. What is he doing?
Basically, what he's doing now, he's actually the Miz's stunt devil.
Oh, okay. Is that getting over?
It is.
Very much so.
They're like, I guess they're playing up the Miz has been in these movies, and Sandow is helping him win matches by taking the abuse, and Miz is getting count-out victories, and he's actually more over than the Miz, I think, right now.
Oh, good.
I believe he is,
he's
too.
A good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy. I'm glad for him.
Actually,
honestly, I like the guy. That's why I wanted to wrestle him.
No, it's cool. I think it'd be a match worth paying to watch or even going to see, because I'm happy to say I will be in Santa Clara next year for WrestleMania 31. And that would have been a perfect match to watch you in and maybe be like, we just talked about it on my radio show, and it's going to happen. How cool is that, you know?
Well, have they finished that football stadium yet?
I'm sorry?
Have they finished the football stadium in Santa Clara yet?
That I'm not aware of yet. I don't know. I know it's going to be there, but I haven't heard anything about it yet.
Because I was there last year, and they were building it. Where WrestleMania is going to be.
Yeah.
And I know that the Hall of Fame is going to be at the SAP Center in San Jose. It seats 17,000 people. I've been to San Jose a lot, and I've been around Silicon Valley quite a bit in my time, and lately too, because I got some friends there. But I think it's going to be another great WrestleMania. It's
You said, Lanny, that were you in New Orleans this year for WrestleMania?
Yes, I was. Because
is there a chance that you're going to be in Santa Clara next year for WrestleMania? Maybe autograph signings or what have you?
Probably, because see, have you noticed on WWE Network they've been using me for my commentary?
Absolutely. Austin's pointed that out to me quite a bit too.
Who's awesome?
Austin, he's one of my co-hosts here.
But I've actually seen you WWE countdown. Counting down the best. Who was? I know Randy was number one, I believe, and what was it? The most. I can't remember the exact theme for the episode, but I know you were there to basically talk about it.
Yeah, well, what it is, I was in New Orleans because I was doing the Access autographs, and then they interviewed me for and asking me different questions so that I appear on that. And so naturally, listen, if I'm called, I'll be there because if the price is right, I'll be there tonight, and the price is always right. They don't screw people they book. They only screw you by not booking.
Well, hopefully I get to see you out there next year, Lanny.
But you know who was the greatest talent in Randy's DVD of all the people that were talking? Did you know I don't know where they found it, but Randy was doing there was an interview of Randy, and he was all through his own DVD from 1994. And then also, my mother didn't want to be in it, and I said, well, Mom, you should be in it. And I talked her into it, and my mom did a fantastic job, and she's going to be 88 in January.
Oh.
That is awesome.
And I think a lot of people are going to be. I think people are going to be interested in the Macho Man's mother.
I do too.
And she had.
In fact, I'll even go ahead. I'll even mention too, if you don't mind me asking, how is Randy's wife doing? How's Mrs. Poffo, Lynn, doing?
Well, she didn't want to be in it, but she's having a sedentary lifestyle and trying to grasp for whatever happiness she can. But she was devastated by the death of my brother. Of course, they were newlyweds.
Of course,
they had been together 10 years, and then 5 years before that. So they were the once in the future. It was hard, but she's trying to cope. We all are as best we can.
Understood. Okay.
Now, with all this happening, with all this, you being involved in WWE from time to time, and the Macho Mom being on the new documentary, is there any? This brings to the question the Hall of Fame.
Do you see it happening, Lanny?
I would say don't hold your breath. Okay, but here's the thing. It's not going to bring him back, but I believe the fans deserve it. And I believe they make themselves look ridiculous every year they don't do it.
Agreed.
So, but look at what's been going on. Bruno Sammartino wasn't in the Hall of Fame for all those years, and finally he's in. And now the fans don't have anything else to bitch about. Then the Ultimate Warrior gets in, and he dies like a few days later. And then, and now Randy, I mean, it would have been better if Randy were delivering his own speech. I wish Randy would have got a chance to be like the Ultimate Warrior, give the speech and then die, instead of 4 years after his death or 5 or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Ultimate Warrior got to get a little off his chest. But see, nobody can make a speech like my brother. He would go, ooh, yeah, and people would go crazy.
And, you know, I wanted to... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick, you know, that just strikes me as just pettiness, because there's business, there's personal, but there's also, you know, a Hall of Fame is a celebration for someone's career, and like you said, Lanny, it's recognition for the fans. You know, it's supposed to be about the people, and to not have that opportunity for not only for Randy to go on stage, but for the fans to shower him with appreciation one last time, I think that's just a mistake, and it's sad, and hopefully they'll rectify it by one day putting Randy and the family in. But, you know, like you said, it's not going to bring him back.
Yeah, but it won't be rectified because Randy won't get to make the speech. So whoever speaks, it won't be as good. Now, but I'll tell you what, the DVD of Randy, they discussed, you know, like they were asking me questions, and I was just telling the truth, just like it was a shoot interview, just like I was talking to you. And I kept saying to myself, I don't know why I'm wasting my time, because that will never get on the air. I mean, it's going to be edited out. And you know what? Everything I said got edited in. And I said, oh, my God, you know what I mean? Even if it's bad about the WWE, they put it in. But, see, I was just telling the truth, but all the truth got in. You know, and it was, you know, and they were talking about what the heat was. And I just told them what I knew that the heat was.
Well, maybe they learned their lesson from doing that DVD that they put out years ago with the Warrior, where it was just a hatchet job, and I guess maybe they realized that, hey, we can tell both sides of the story and let the people decide.
That's a good point.
Well, I have no idea, but I'll tell you what, the buzz on it is incredible. I think it's going to be the biggest seller ever.
Amen.
I got people from Europe telling me about it, Australia. I got people, you know, I'm telling you, the people know about this DVD, and it's coming out, I don't know, I guess it's coming out November 18th here. I don't know about internationally. I don't know what that does. But I think there's people that can't pay the rent that are going to buy the expensive one.
Same here. And
you know,
Lanny,
actually, go ahead, Austin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying your family's legacy is, amazing. The legacy your family is going to, once you leave, is ingrained in professional wrestling forever. And I got to tell you, just speaking to you right now, there's a lot of appreciation I have for you and your family, and more than ever before. I am so excited for this DVD to come out, and I know a lot of people around the world are feeling the same exact way as me.
Wow, thank you very much. That means a lot, Autumn. And let me just say that we were on with Vince and Jimmy, right, a while back?
Yep.
And I really enjoyed that you let me do that. I said, hey, I got to get on with him. Because I had to explain. You saw the video from Charlotte, right?
Yes,
I did, yes.
Well, I thought it was great. I was trying to say something nice about Jimmy Vine, and he ain't even there. I said, what the hell was that? And it was like the biggest laugh I got, you know.
Absolutely.
He didn't even hang around. So.
What's that?
You know, he didn't even, you know, I knew he was there, and then he left. You know, I just couldn't believe he wasn't there. But I definitely wanted to give him some recognition.
You know, actually, Lanny, I wanted to touch on something real quick, and it's going back to WrestleMania in Toronto. You actually, can you describe what that atmosphere was like back then?
WrestleMania in Toronto.
WrestleMania 6, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, here's what happened. This is the day that I realized that Vince McMahon had 3 balls. A pair and a spare. Okay. Somebody started panicking. They say, "Hey, there's, the pay-per-view is down. We're screwed." So Vince says, "Is it a big problem or a small problem?" He says, "It's a big problem." And he looks at his watch and he says, "Well, we have 4 hours to fix it. Start now." So somebody says, "What's the matter, Vince?" And he says, "Nothing we can't handle." And he walks away looking like he's 10 feet tall. And I thought to myself, I get excited if a button works loose on my sweater. And here's a man with millions of dollars he's going to lose because there's no pay-per-view. And, because if there's a technical problem, there's nothing you can do. But he didn't even blink. So I said, this is a very, very capable guy. And so then, okay, here's what happened. Chief J. Strongbow doesn't even tell me that I'm supposed to get a haircut from Beefcake, right?
Yep.
He's the booker. He's supposed to tell you that stuff. He doesn't. And so Beefcake finds me, gets me, and cuts my hair, and I didn't know he was supposed to do it. So, but I knew it was getting over, and of course, how is that not going to get over?
Yeah.
So, so what I found fascinating, Beefcake was cutting my hair every night, a little bit at a time, right? Starting in the Royal Rumble. Yeah. He was cutting my hair, and I finally got revenge on him, though. You know how?
How's that?
Here I am about to turn 60 years of age, and I still got a full head of hair, and he's going bald.
That's awesome. Lanny, I wanted to ask, before we let you go, is there any other appearances you're going to be making in the next couple of weeks? And also, how can they keep up with what you're doing right now?
Okay, go on geniuslannypoffo.com. That's geniuslannypoffo.com. And if you want the Kindle edition of my book, it's on Amazon. Well, you can get it through geniuslannypoffo.com in the shop section. But here's the thing. Like I said, when I became international bestseller, and I thought, in the words of Eric Cartman from South Park, all you people didn't want to publish me, and now now I made you eat your parents. So I hope I don't sound too childish when I say that. But,
not at all.
I like to rub your face in it because you didn't want to publish me. And now I'm best-selling author. So, geniuslannypoffo.com. It's got a real nice tribute to my brother on there. It's got a lot of interesting things in the shop section. And then I'm going to Amsterdam, New York on October 25. I don't remember what time, but it's just go on the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame website, and you can find out exactly what time. I don't remember. But I'll tell you what, I never miss a booking, and I'm never late.
That's good.
I was on time for you guys, right?
Absolutely. We can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah, Blog Talk Radio. Your show will begin in 43 seconds. And I said, well, that's the way I like to do business. And but I just want to say thank you, all three of you, for four of you, three. Okay.
There's three of us.
Thank you for such a professional interview. Thanks for doing your homework before you interview me. Thanks for knowing more about wrestling than the average mark. Because that makes a difference. So you either do your homework or you do not. And
exactly.
So
it's
anyway,
an honor, Lanny. It's always an honor and a pleasure to speak with you, because I know you and I have spoken many times over the years, and I can't thank you enough for coming back on and just telling us more about who you are. I mean, we know that your brother was Randy Savage at the Macho Man, and that's good. But you know what? We want to learn more about you. you know, and you definitely gave us that opportunity, and I can't thank you enough for that.
I just want to say one more thing about the Hall of Fame.
Please do.
What really pissed me off was in Madison Square Garden when they got the beautiful Maria Menounos. She gave a hell of a speech introducing Bob Backlund, and the crowd booed her right out of the building.
I was there that night. I remember.
That pissed me off because I love Bob Backlund. He's the greatest gentleman that ever walked into a ring. He has never done anything but try to encourage me. He's a shooter, and he even, when I was a young guy, he grabbed me and taught me how to wrestle. And every time I tapped out, he would let me go because he was not a bully. He was there to teach me and encourage me, not to humiliate me. And of course, he could have. And you know, here's Maria Menounos saying wonderful things about one of the finest gentlemen that ever walked into the ring, and the crowd boos. And I know you're a New Yorker, but I'm going to ask you, how many New Yorkers does it take to change a light bulb?
I give up.
None of your fucking business.
Oh, that was a good one. Yes, I can agree. The New York crowd can tend to be a very, very unruly, loud, and obnoxious crowd, very vocal at times. They booed her out of the building. They booed Donald Trump out of the building. Yeah, it was a crazy night.
And you elected a communist mayor.
I didn't know that. But, you know what, hopefully what's that?
A communist mayor. De Blasio, whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah, and he's a giant, too. He's like almost 7 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that probably makes up for his shortcomings in his crotch.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you know, Lanny, I know it's getting late where you're at over there in Florida, and, you know, it's always a pleasure to have you come on with us and chat and tell some great stories. Hopefully we'll bring you back down again for another time to shoot and tell some more stories and just have some fun. And hopefully, like I said, if you happen to be in the WrestleMania area during WrestleMania, definitely love to say hello and maybe take a picture or two and hang out or go have lunch or something. I'm not sure.
I just want to say one more thing before you let me go. You know,
sir.
Randy was married twice. He had no biological children. He was a very good uncle. He was a very good uncle to my daughter. He was a very good father to his second wife's 2 daughters from a previous marriage. But it was the Special Olympics that filled the void in Randy's heart. And he was a good man as well as a great man. And I want you to know that he was a good man, too.
Absolutely. And you are a good man as well, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a better man because of my brother.
Fair enough.
With respect,
and if you didn't know before we let Lanny go, Felix,
yes, sir.
A little wrestling tidbit. You know, there's a current superstar that has a rap gimmick that is going to be in the Hall of Fame, but I would argue that the genius was the WWF's original rapper and not John Cena. And for that alone, Lanny deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, the thing is, but I saw John Cena, Fireman Terry, The Big Show, and another guy on top of that. And if I try to do that, my spine would fall out my anus.
Too funny. But I want you to enjoy your evening, Lanny, and again, thank you for gracing us with your presence here tonight and telling us some great stories.
I enjoyed it very much, man. Thank you so much. Go to my website, get my book. Thank you.
No problem. Have a good night, Lanny.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
The one and only genius, Lanny Poffo. Incredible man, incredible life he's led and continues to lead. Very proud of his family and his heritage, as he should be. You know, a lot of wrestling families out there choose not to follow in the family's footsteps and do other things, but you know what? When it comes to true wrestling families, you can put the Poffos in there as one of the top wrestling families in the world.
Absolutely. And one of the things I really like about Lanny is that he is not one of these former wrestlers that just has an axe to grind. You could just hear from his stories and his attitude that, he loved his time in wrestling. He loved his father, of course, and his brother. And there's no bitterness. And if there is bitterness, you're not hearing it from him. And I think that's something that's kind of rare from some of these older workers.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
I mean, one thing to take away from this interview is that, without a doubt, Lanny loves his brother. And he's given him a lot of credit. And, that DVD is coming out November 12th, I believe, or 28th. I'm not
18th.
sure. I know I have a pre-order. I know Felix has a pre-order. I know Nate probably has a pre-order as well. This Macho Man exactly. It's gonna be like unlike anything else. And I know that with all the stuff that's going to be inside of it, they're probably not sugarcoating anything. And I know Lanny Poffo wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, what's funny is like he was saying, he had told me that when we spoke before the interview, that all the stuff he had said, which was bad against WWE, they allowed it to stay in there. And, they talked about why Randy left and a lot of his good friends. And, Randy had a lot of love for a lot of people in the wrestling business. And for him to only thank two people out of the group of people that talked about Randy, that says something. Because, Lanny knows that people were very shady back then and were only out for themselves. But that said, I'm just looking forward to checking out the DVD. That's all I can say, really.
And,
I can't thank him enough for coming on.
Next week's guest on Pipebomb Radio, mentioning Randy Savage. This person actually pays tribute to Randy in Cuban matches. The crown jewel, the NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion, Chase Owens, is going to be with us next week on Pipebomb Radio. And those who don't know who Chase is, he is one of the best wrestlers in the world today. And recently, this past Sunday night in New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Tokyo Dome, that graced over 21,000 people in that arena. There's a lot of people, probably even more so than I'm even saying. Basically, what happened is he called out Jushin Thunder Liger. And those who know Jushin Thunder Liger knows, he means business, but he's also one of the most legendary professional wrestlers in history. One of the most outstanding performers to ever break the squared circle. And Chase called him out, and now they're entering this feud for this NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship that I know is just going to be, have a lot of thunder, no pun intended, under this. It's going to be amazing. I cannot speak with him next weekend when he joins us because Chase is a constant performer.
And we will be back to our regular time next week, folks. It's going to be 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. So keep an eye out for that. This last couple of weeks we've been coming on a little early, but that's okay because we've had to accommodate a few guests that are going to be coming on, and we want to definitely keep the ball rolling and keep you guys entertained as much as we possibly can entertain you. And having people like Karma, Lanny, Kamala, just to name just these names alone, it's a huge deal. It definitely shows that we are building the Pipebomb Radio brand up into something really good. And the best is yet to come is what I always will say.
Absolutely. And just to venture off for a second here, I know both of you probably watched Monday Night Raw last night, and there was a lot of stuff. It's such a great Raw. But there's one big thing I want to talk about, and that happened last night on Raw. Knee leaks. With all Monday Night Raw. Real Housewives of whatever. I'm not sure what state they're in this year. I don't watch the show. But I know this is just like a little sidetracked thing right here, but compared to last week, Hoda and what's her name? Hoda and that's what I said. And basically, Nene Leakes came on here, and you would think the crowd was going to eat her up, and actually didn't. They gave her a chance, but she fit in with the Total Divas. And I know people are probably turning off their radio things right now. I wouldn't blame them. I would probably do the same if I was in your shoes. Speaking about Nene Leakes, but I was really surprised. No comments from everybody. I was actually expecting that because you guys probably have some really altered opinions about Nene Leakes on Monday Night Raw. Come on, shout it out.
Well,
to be honest with you, I would have rather seen Jake Roberts and Ric Flair come on than her. That's just my opinion because I know that they were there. That's just my opinion. Reality stars. It's just like if they brought out Jerry Springer. Do we really need that? Come on. Next thing you know, they're going to bring her on, and she's going to wrestle at WrestleMania. Come on.
Hold on. Are you making fun of Jerry Springer after he torn, what is it, his broke a hip or something, or a few ribs? after the belts took him down, you're really going to make fun of Jerry Springer? Come on.
I can picture it now. Jerry Springer versus Snooki versus Nene Leakes. Triple threat celebrity match at WrestleMania.
No. That match is going to happen at Hell in a Cell. Remember, Felix? Along with Sting versus Kevin Nash.
Okay.
But I think
with Nene, the thing with Nene, Austin, is that they didn't put her out there. Like with Hoda and Kathy Lee, they actually gave her time to talk on the mic. But with Nene, they just stuck her at ringside with the Divas, and they gave her a little backstage segment. And so she was fine. But with the other guy, with Todd Chrisley, they let him get on the mic, and I don't know what in the heck this dude was talking about. But, yeah, the fans were not that kind to Todd Chrisley.
I mean, do you watch the show? On USA, have you actually watched the show?
It's funny, but it's not something that we need to see on Raw.
Well, I mean, Todd Chrisley with him. I believe it's Chrisley knows best. I'm not gonna. I don't even know why I'm talking about this right now. I mean, including Nene Leakes. I brought it up anyway. But it's actually funny to me that how people accepted her the way they did. But besides that, Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose is going to happen in Hell in a Cell. And with the absence of Brock Lesnar, the WWE champion, I think it's going to be one of the most memorable matches of the year because these two have gone back for a long while. I mean, many years past. And these two finally get to collide in the ring. But you've seen Seth Rollins escape time after time. Nobody's escaping this time on Hell in a Cell.
You know what? It had to happen that way because at this point, after months of back and forth between those two, to finally lead it up to Hell in a Cell, it probably won't even be done then. For all we know, we might see a Survivor Series team come up and then they have each other, Team Ambrose versus Team Rollins or whatever. But, I mean, I think the right person won. Then not to take away anything from Cena, but, people are really tired of him being in the championship picture or even in the highlight or the top picture, whatever you want to call it. Him and Randy, they're going to have a cell match. They're not referring to it as a losers match, but although it is, but I don't know. Their rivalry has been done so many times. I don't know what more they could possibly bring into the match that hasn't been done already.
They've already had a final match. A couple years ago, the match was billed as the end of the rivalry. And we're doing it again.
Well, I'm actually expecting this to be, you have John Cena, who's a 15-time world champion. He gets one more. He's tied with Ric Flair. I picture this every single time in a perfect world. I want to see Ric Flair break up every single title match that he has for the WWE Championship. Every single time, right when he's in a big title match, WrestleMania, Ric Flair comes walking down, strutting, and then he breaks up the pin, gets disqualified, and the match is over. And then the other guys retain the championship. I want to see that happen every single time. From then on. That's my dream. The American dream.
Oh, brother. So with that, we've got Chase Owens next Tuesday night. We've got this coming Thursday. We have Prince Nana coming to Not Your Mama's radio show.
Really?
Should be interesting. Wow. Yes, sir. And I'm not sure. Is he still considered a Ring of Honor star, or would you say more independent?
Yes. Well, I think he's actually more of a talent scout for Ring of Honor. Prince Nana, oh my gosh, he's done a lot within Ring of Honor. The Embassy, he brought in the tag team. This whole entire, not really a tag team, but more like a faction of men and women that has he dominated Ring of Honor for quite some time. They're not a part of it. He's not really seen much on TV right now, but he's a big part of the talent scouting for Ring of Honor.
Okay. And with that, I'm going to ask though, are you guys planning to maybe go to WrestleMania next year?
Felix, you keep on calling me, and I did the same exact thing to you last year when we went to WrestleMania 30. And by the way, did you remember that match? The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar? I witnessed. Nope. And this is a big deal to me. I witnessed the last match of the Undertaker. Okay, do you believe it's in the last match, Felix? You might. With you being sick tonight, I believe you're kind of altering your mind here. What do you think to happen to the Undertaker? WrestleMania 31 is just around the corner. Is he going to have another match, or was Brock Lesnar his last stand?
He'll be there. I do believe he will, because people still want to see it, and I still believe that it could be made. It could be done even though the streak's over. It's now just a matter of putting on a great match, but I think the two of them can do it. You know, if it doesn't happen, then maybe he decided that's it. He has nothing left to prove. He really doesn't. You know, he's one of those guys who earned his spot and being able to come back once a year if he chose to. Not many people can say that. You know, you think about Jericho. Well, Jericho, I don't know. Would you say he earned his spot and being able to come back whenever the hell he wants?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
Okay. They're just people that have earned their spots, and when they get mad, then they come back, and they get on Undertaker for only coming in once a year, yet their world champion is off and on all year round and barely shows up at all, and not going to defend the title for the rest of the year.
Like, honestly, I'd have more of a problem with Brock, even though he's done a great job in his last run. I have more of a problem with Brock being a quote-unquote part-timer than somebody like Jericho because of the way Brock left the first time.
Yeah.
And in a perfect world, I think Felix, what he believes happened
I'll be right back,
WrestleMania 30. And I already talked to Felix about this before. I believe he thinks that the Undertaker, and let me tell you, I've seen some things from the Undertaker in the past years. That man is a magical beast. I've seen him put lightning in an arena. It's pretty crazy. And he actually, I believe Felix believes this in his heart, that the Undertaker possessed Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 30, then becoming Brock Lesnar in the form of the Undertaker, beating the Undertaker at WrestleMania. That's what happened. That's what happened.
So technically, the Undertaker's still undefeated. So technically, he's still undefeated.
Exactly. So, no harm, no foul, right? That's what the kids say these days.
How many
I got an idea for you guys. WrestleMania match right here. Kevin Steen versus Devitt versus Hideo Itami versus Adrian Neville. Well, let's put them all into a battle royal, since we can't really do versus each one. Put all those guys into a battle royal, like with guys like, and see who comes out the winner, get a title shot for the NXT title, or even their title of their choosing. Maybe it could be the World Heavyweight title. What do you think?
That could be interesting. Like, I do think there's going to be an NXT presence on Mania this year, and that would be a good way to showcase it.
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I don't think it would be the smartest thing to just bring out those talented individuals all at once. I believe. Kevin Steen just signed with WWE just a couple months ago, and just starting out the performance center. I don't really see him. These guys are all talented individuals, and they're all going to have a time. That to be just put on WrestleMania like right then and there this year. Next year, it wouldn't seem right, because there's a lot of stuff you can do. Just milking the wrestlers, kind of just putting out slowly and making their presence known bit by bit. Because if you just put everybody all at once, it's like what am I watching? And it's probably the most amazing thing I've ever watched in my entire life. But time that you're slowing it down and then bring these guys in one at a time ever so often. So you get to learn more about them and their individuality, as a superstar and as a character and as a presence. Does that make any sense?
Well, just an idea at this point. I have a feeling they're going to try to push it out more because people are wanting to see them more on the main roster. And, with the Wyatt family splitting up, which I still think is a big mistake.
No, it's not.
I don't believe that they should split them up, and I don't care if the Ascension comes on with them or not. They fit better with the character. That's just what I believe. If I'm proven wrong, then I'll see. But in the meantime, I don't see it. I think these two big guys are going to get lost in the shuffle. They're going to be relegated to mid-card, possibly NXT, until they figure out what they're going to do with them, if they do anything with them. And then that's it. Taking nothing away from Bray Wyatt, he doesn't really need them. His speaking and wrestling skills speak for itself. But taking characters away from a type of character that really fit this whole package, it didn't feel right. And the fact that they kept putting him on a losing streak after losing streak, losing at WrestleMania.
Yep.
Of all places, you're going to lose at WrestleMania after they build up this hype with him and John Cena. It would, to me, at least in my opinion, it would have been probably better to let him go over if they want to take him seriously as a relevant contender for anything. But the fact that they kept making him lose, it just didn't make any sense, which is why I'm thinking they took him off of TV for a while to kind of get people to forget about all the losses he's had over the last several months. But you know,
he definitely lost some steam, I think. Not only did he lose steam in terms of the booking, you know, in his programs with Jericho and his program with Cena, but I think the coolest thing about Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family were the promos and the vignettes. And I think over the course of those two feuds, Bray Wyatt's purpose kind of got lost. You know what I mean? Like, is he trying to turn John Cena bad? Is he, you know, what's this guy's purpose? The promos are still cool, but they're not telling us anything. So I think coming back, giving him some time off, and then like the vignettes that we saw on Raw this past week, I thought they were excellent, right up there with the original Wyatt family vignettes. So I'm interested to see where they go now with you know, this new version of Bray Wyatt and Harper and Rowan.
And you know, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, when I've seen those vignettes over the past weeks and seeing how Bray Wyatt's been releasing his children, yeah, I mean, I was hiding under my covers. You know, these guys are scary, and they're demented, and they're just, I mean, they can control your mind, but I believe within the horizon, within the coming months, Bray Wyatt's going to have Daniel Bryan back in his arms again. I know it's going to happen, and those two, remember back at Royal Rumble this past year, had a phenomenal match. I mean, I know what they can do in the ring together in the future is going to be unmatched from what they've done in the past. I just know there's something there. There's him and Dean Ambrose. I mean, listen to that. Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose is a match made in heaven, if you ask me. That would be great. Amen. But besides that, him, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan, like Phil was saying, I don't know how they're going to take care of this. They're going to have to really step outside how they were portrayed in the Wyatt family. They're going to have to make themselves known as as an individual presence, and that's going to be interesting to see, especially with a guy like Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan.
Yeah. No, it's just, well, I'm curious to see where it'll go, but you know, with a lot of people coming on from NXT, they feel that are ready. Well, you know, there's obviously always been the rumors of the Ascension moving up, of Adrian Neville moving up, Sami Zayn moving up. When they get onto the main roster, are they gonna be over like most have been, or are they gonna flounder a little bit like Bo Dallas has, like that Rosebud dude? I can't think of his name here real quick.
Bunny.
What was his name?
Adam Rose.
Adam Rose. Yes. You know, that guy, those two, they had high expectations for, and they floundered. They're just kind of flopping around like a dead fish. Yep. You know, but don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of both the characters, but for some reason they're just not being portrayed as high and pushed over as high as they could have been.
Same with Fandango, same with Emma. Like, there's some NXT acts that have succeeded, but there's some that I think work so well in that small, kind of intimate NXT environment that when they come up to the main stage, it doesn't really play to a big stadium.
True.
And you know, I think what people want to see is something real. And when guys like Sami Zayn isn't a character, and when you see him, that's him. That's him through and through as a guy. You know, that's being the person he is. Let's look back at Stone Cold Steve Austin. The reason why he was liked so much is that was him. And he can, when you're good at being yourself, that's money. That's what you have to do, and that's what makes people connect with you. When you're just like them in the crowd, you have to stand out, obviously, but when you're trying to have some relation to the crowd, being the person that has this little edge and that on Tim, we have I'm trying to explain this. Sami Zayn is an amazing performer, but then when he gets out there, people are going to love him for his performance, but also his just raw attitude. Same with Kevin Steen. If you've watched Kevin Steen in the past, that guy is, he is Stone Cold Steve Austin actually had him on his podcast many months back, but I know a person like him is going to be successful in WWE because that's who he is. And he can't get too far from
one off a side note, guys, I just wanted to let you know that one of our former guests has actually gone on to do a podcast with Jim Ross. Check it out on the Ross Report. He interviews Rob Schamberger and Brian Shields.
Ooh, cool.
Just letting you guys know, congratulations on that, Brian. Best of luck to you on the book of 30 Years of WrestleMania. If you haven't got it, get it out. Go on and get it. I'm sure Austin has it. He's the one been telling me all about it.
Really, really good stuff. And I'm just trying to clarify what I was just saying for a second there. When it's something real, people are going to gravitate towards it more than something that's kind of like a character base, which that isn't bad. I enjoy things that aren't of yourself, which is art, you know. But I mean, I think people are looking for something more real. You know what I'm saying? More rough, raw.
Yep, I remember. Now, I want to ask you, though, if there was a guest that we can bring on the show, not saying we're going to get them, not saying we're not going to get them, not saying it's not impossible, between the both of you, if you had the chance to bring on one of the people that you'd love to chat with more than anything else in this world, who would it be and why? It could be a wrestler, it could be an actor, it could be a musician. It could be, but limited down to maybe 2 choices, maybe 3 at the very most.
Okay. You can go first, Austin.
Okay, well, this is my choice. I want to get David Arquette on the show, you know, because we have to talk about his amazing reign as WCW World Heavyweight Champion, obviously. I mean, we have to talk about that. I mean, that's an interesting interview I think we would have with him, especially. And besides him, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is a must.
Yes.
To be on the show, being the person who he is and the legacy that he has, it's an absolute must to bring him on a show like Pipebomb Radio, who's had people like Bruno Sammartino, you know, a god of wrestling, you know, on the show before.
Yeah.
That's a good list. My list, I think I'm going to go with maybe an obvious choice for people that know me and then a couple less obvious choices. My first choice would be Vince Russo. There's a swerve for you.
Well, Nate, I would actually hold on to that for a second because within the coming months, you might just be seeing him on there.
Yeah, and I'm going to be, unlike Lanny Poffo said, I will be holding my breath for that because if we get that opportunity, that's going to be a fun show. So yeah, Vinny Rue at the top of my list. Number 2, maybe an underrated choice, but somebody that spent a long time in the world of professional wrestling, both in the NWA, WCW, and also in the WWF, now the WWE. Somebody that has been a manager, has been a referee, has been an on-screen character, and maybe can give us some perspective on being a black man in the world of professional wrestling, and that's Teddy Long. Holla, holla, holla.
Oh, my God, yes. And speaking of Teddy Long, did you watch SmackDown 50th anniversary? I was laughing so much. I was so excited because when Teddy Long came out, once you hear his music, it's like, oh, my gosh, we're at the party. Playa, you know?
And I think JBL, like, that wasn't an act. You talk about being real, Austin. I think JBL really felt that way. He was happy to see Teddy.
Besides him, my man, Johnny Laurinaitis. Return, people power. I was so excited to see him. I almost, never mind. I'm not going to talk about what I was about to do with my hands, but I mean, anyway, I was really excited to see him.
Yes, that was a very cool moment on SmackDown. But my last choice, which is no surprise to anybody that knows me, they know my all-time favorite professional wrestler is that man called Sting.
Okay.
And he's somebody I respect not only as a wrestler, but as a person. He's very strong with his faith, and you know, just somebody interesting that I would love to get that chance to talk to.
All right, something to think about for the future shows. But all right, guys, so let's go ahead and plug anything that we need to get plugged out there. Austin, I know you got your graphic design page. Why don't you go ahead and plug it real quick?
If you really want to see some beautiful designs, and probably the greatest designs you've ever seen in your entire life, I mean, pixel by pixel, I literally go in, and within the pixel, I just plant this magical beam that sprouts into this amazing graphic design that is Austin James Graphic Design. You can actually check us out on Facebook, Austin James Graphic Design, or email at Austin James graphic design at yahoo.com. And and I'm also on Twitter at @D_Austin James, on Instagram at @D_Austin James. And if you don't have any friends, I'll be your friend. Austin Porsche.
All right.
So
how about you, Nate? What you got to promote?
All right, Felix. If you allow me to tip the cap to Lanny Poffo, I have a poem to promote something.
Go for it.
All right. If you want to hear opinions on quarterbacks, point guards, and pitchers, download my podcast on iTunes or on Stitcher. Marcus Vanderberg and myself will be holding court each and every week. Check us out on the Kings of Sports.
Nicely done.
Wow.
Nicely done.
And of
Am I
course you
speaking
can
to Lanny
follow
Poffo again?
Yeah, I wish I had a Frisbee so I could throw that at you, Austin, and give that to you. That's my present.
Oh, my gosh. Amazing. It's one.
Nicely done. All right. Well, in that case, nothing further, guys. Until next week, on behalf of Austin, Nate, and myself, for Pipebomb Radio, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. And I will say, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars, guys. Good night, everybody. Good night, guys.
Night.
Good night.